Between about 150 AD and around the 6th, 7th centuries, the great city of Rome, the capital of the great empire, was hit by a series of devastating plagues. The population of the city went from about 1 million down to somewhere in the neighborhood of 60,000 by the middle of the 7th century. We're pretty sure we know what caused those plagues. But what's more important to us in this context is, what were the effects of them? And there were many effects: the weakening of the empire, the beginnings of the end of the Roman Empire, if you will. But also this: when these plagues hit, and people were not only faced with enormous death rates, but the necessity of disposing of bodies, it must have been just absolutely horrible to people who couldn't understand what was happening and why. Because remember, the idea that microbes were causing these problems didn't dawn on folks for a whole many centuries later. One of the effects of these Roman plagues was that the old Greco-Roman polytheistic gods seemed to have no power at all against them. And so faith in the old traditions, the old religious traditions of the Romans and the Greeks, began to crack and fall to pieces. And waiting in the wings was Christianity. The Christians had the great healer God, the story of Jesus, of course, being a story of Jesus Christ healing people of all kinds of maladies, and also instructing his followers to care for the sick, to care for the afflicted, to love one another. Perhaps the most famous saying of Jesus was the parable of the Good Samaritan, where the Christian is admonished to take care of someone he doesn't even know, who may even be his enemy. And so when these plagues hit, the Christians offered not only hope for a better world beyond if you died, but they also came with priests and nuns and regular members of the Christian faith who were anxious to care for those who were afflicted. And so the Christians, instead of shunning and leaving people to die in their rags, would care for, feed, keep warm, keep clean the victims of these diseases. And as any public health person can tell you, those kinds of treatments really do help. And so not only were the Christians brave and faithful in their devotion to the sick, but what they were doing seemed to work. Now, most historians trace the success of the Christians in the Roman Empire to Constantine in the 4th century, who announced that Christians wouldn't be persecuted anymore and that eventually that it would be the state religion, and then had his famous deathbed conversion. But is it not possible that what really brought the Christians into the forefront, in fact, not possible, but very likely, of Roman culture, was the disintegration of the old classical gods who seemed to have little effect on these terrible maladies, but also waiting in the wings this new religion that not only promised life after death, but promised by its efforts that you might just survive if you became one of these Christians. The Christian magic, if you will, seemed to work a lot better than the old magic. And so there's no question, it seems to me, that the success of Christianity, its rise in the early days of the Common Era, had a great deal to do with disease.